Music of different regions. Part 2. Hindustani, Devotional, and folk music. Hindustani, devotional and folk music contributes a lot to the uniqueness of Indian music. Each of the style is confined to a separate origin within India, which has also absorbed certain elements from the world music. Each one of this form has its own characteristic features and remarkable identity. This session is aimed to bring out the origin, principles and characteristics of Hindustani, devotional and folk music forms of India. Music plays an important part in the life of the refined folk. In this session, we will be discussing about Hindustani music, devotional music, folk music. Hindustani music. History and evolution of Hindustani music. The second broader subgenre of Indian music is the Hindustani music. It is found throughout the northern India subcontinent. Music in India, especially art music, went through a metamorphosis for 4 centuries from the 16th to result in the Hindustani music of today. This modern period saw an increasing number of musicological works in Persian, Urdu, Hindi and other regional languages instead of Sanskrit. Hindustani music has travelled to its present form after passing over a long period of relative changes. A form of music called Samgaan, which involved the chanting of the verses and hymns set to musical patterns, was prevalent during the late Vedic period. A form of music called the Prabandh Sangeet, which was written in Sanskrit, became very popular in the period 2 to 7 AD. This gave way to a simpler form known as Dhrupavad, which used Hindi as a medium for the first time. Persian music, Music-e-Asl, dating back to more than 3000 years, has had a great influence on Hindustani music. The advent of Islamic rule under the Delhi Sultanate and later the Mughal Empire led to the fusion of Hindu and Muslim thoughts to produce new forms of musical expression, particularly Hindustani music. The most significant musician of Delhi Sultanate was Amir Khusrau, 1253 to 1325. He was regarded as a father of Hindustani classical music. He was a prolific composer in Persian, Turkish, Arabic and Braj Bhasha. He is credited with systemizing many aspects of Hindustani music. The Bhakti and the Sufi movement led by Mirabai, 1498 AD, Kabir, 1440 AD, Tulsidas, 1554 AD and Surdas, 1479 AD, also had an impact on the Hindustani music. After the dissolution of the Mughal Empire, the patronage to music continued in smaller princely kingdoms like Lucknow, Patiala and Benares. All these tell us the story of how Hindustani music as we know it today has evolved and taken shape. Modernization of the Hindustani music. In the early 20th century, Vishnu Digambar emerged as a torchbearer of Hindustani music. His books on music, as well as the Gandharva Mahavidyalaya that he opened in Lahore in 1901, helped foster a movement away from the closed Gharana system. Pulaskar's contemporary Chatur Pandit Vishnu Narayan Bhatkande recognized the many rifts that had appeared in the structure of North Indian classical music. He undertook extensive research and visited a large number of gharanas, collecting and comparing compositions. Between 1909 and 1932, he brought out the monumental Hindustani Sangeeta Paddhati of 94 volumes, which provided a transcription and notation for Hindustani music for the first time. The ragas, as we know them today, were classified and consolidated into 10 tats in this landmark work. Alauddin Khan's Gurukul at Maihar contributed to a great extent in the making of some top-notch instrumentalists of our times like Pandit Ravi Shankar and Ali Akbar Khan. Renowned sitar player Pandit Ravi Shankar and Sarod maestro Ali Akbar Khan and tabla wizard Allah Rakha put the Hindustani classical music on the world map in the 20th century. Principles of Hindustani music. The rhythmic organization is based on rhythmic patterns called tala. The melodic foundations are called ragas. Hindustani musicians name these pitches using a system called sargam, the equivalent of the Western solfa syllables. Sa, shadja, do. Re, Rishab, Re. Ga, Gandhar, Mi. Ma, Madhyam, Fa. Pa, Panchama, So. Da, Daivat, La. Ni, Nishad, Ti. In both the systems, there is repetition at the octave. The difference between sargam and solfege is that Re, Ga, Ma, Dha and Ni can refer to either natural, Shuddha, or altered flat, Komal or sharp, Tivra versions of their respective scale degrees. The three primary registers of Indian classical music are Mandra, lower, Madhya, middle, and Tar, upper. A typical rendition of Hindustani ragas involves two stages. Alap. It is the opening session of a typical North Indian performance where rhythmically free improvisation on the rules for the raga is given in order to give life to the raga and flesh out its characteristics. The alap is followed by a long, slow tempo improvisation in vocal music. Bandish or Gat. It is a fixed melodic composition set in a particular raga, performed with rhythmic accompaniment by a tabla or pakhavaj. There are different ways of systemizing the parts of a composition. For example, sthai, the initial phrase or line of a composition; antara, the first body phrase or line of a melodic composition; sanchari, the third body phrase or line of a fixed melodic composition found more typically in Dhrupad bandishes; abhog, the fourth and concluding body phrase or line of a fixed melodic composition seen more typically in Dhrupad bandishes. There are three variations of bandish with respect to tempo. Vilambit bandish, a slow and steady melodic composition, usually in largo to adagio slow pace speeds. Madhyalaya bandish, a medium tempo melodic composition usually set in andant gently moving to allegretto moderately fast speeds. Drut bandish, a fast tempo melodic composition usually set to allegretto speed or faster. Hindustani instrumental music. Hindustani classical music is chiefly vocal centric insofar as the musical forms were designed primarily for vocal performance, and many instruments were designed and evaluated as to how well they replicate the human voice. Although Hindustani music clearly is focused on the vocal performance, instrumental forms have existed since ancient times. A number of musical instruments are associated with Hindustani classical music. The veena, a string instrument, was traditionally regarded as the most important, but very few played today, and it has largely been superseded by its cousins, the sitar and the sarod, both of which owe their origin to Persian influences. Other plucked or struck string instruments include the surbahar, santur, and various versions of the slide guitar. Among bowed instruments, the sarangi, esraj, and violin are popular. The bansuri, shahnai, and harmonium are important wind instruments. In percussion ensemble, the tabla and the pakhavaj are the most popular. Various other instruments have also been used in varying degrees. As a matter of fact, in recent decades, especially outside South Asia, instrumental Hindustani music is more popular than vocal music, partly due to a somewhat different style and faster tempo, and also because of the language barrier. Devotional music. Music to human ears is heavenly and truly divine when it is devotional. Devotional music is the one that accompanies religious observances and rituals. Each major religion has its own tradition with devotional hymns. In addition to the classical forms of Indian music, a vast treasure of non-classical Indian music is dedicated to worship and prayer. Music in almost all Indian communities has been chiefly used as a vehicle to communicate the divine content. In India, devotional music is dedicated to a particular deity or religious form, and this gave rise to a minor variety within this devotional music form of India. Characteristics of devotional music. They are very short, lyrical, and simple in language, usually in simple rhymes. These short songs are repeated several times in varying speeds. They are aimed to convey devotion in its prime form, hence, lesser emphasis is laid on the technicalities. It's a free form of music which does not follow any particular pattern. The various names of the deities, instances of small stories from epics are cited in the lyrics of a devotional song. Anecdotes and episodes from scriptures, the teachings of saints, and descriptions of gods are the subjects of devotional songs. The primary forms of Indian devotional music are bhajans is the primary form of devotional music. It has no fixed format. And might be as simple as a mantra or as complicated as a kirtan based on classical ragas and talas. The main concern of a bhajan is to express the love for divinity. A bhajan is fully lyrical. Baba jaladi madil bay harila sakal balvi mahamaruti. Baba jaladi madil bay harila sakal balvi mahamaruti. Baba jaladi madil bay harila sakal balvi mahamaruti. Whose subjects are anecdotes and episodes from scriptures, the teachings of saints, and descriptions of gods. Nanak, Kabir, Meera, and Surdas are noted composers of bhajan. The Drupad style, Sufi Qawwali, and the Kirtan or song in the Haridasi tradition are related to bhajan. The Dakshina Bharata Sampradaya bhajan is the tradition that is followed in South India. Bhor Geet. Bhor Geet is the devotional music of Assam. It is a collection of lyrical songs that are set to specific ragas but not necessarily to any tala. These songs are composed by Srimanta Sankar Deva and Madhav Deva in the 15th, 16th centuries. These songs are used to begin prayer services in monasteries associated with the Ekasarana Dharma, and they also belong to the repertoire of music of Assam outside the religious context. They are a lyrical strain that expresses the religious sentiments of the poets reacting to different situations. Shabad Kirtan. The Sikh community also possess a wealthy heritage of devotional music known as Shabad Kirtan, Gurmat Sangeet, and Gurbani, sayings of the Guru. The performances of the musical concerts are concluded with a devotional verse or a bhajan. Folk music. Few countries in the world can claim to have developed a system of art music, but all countries, including those inhabited by aborigines, have developed folk music and folk dance. Folk music, folk dance, and folk drama have a distinct place in the cultural heritage of a country. Though they are characterized by simple music and easy rhythm, folk music is older than classical music. Folk music is the foundation upon which the later classical music developed. Tyagaraja, amongst classical composers, has done a distinct service to South Indian music by immortalizing many folk tunes in his time in his operas, Divyanama Kirtanas and Utsava Sampradaya Kirtanas. Folk is commonly referred to as the Podu Jana Ganam or Nadodi Patte or Lok Sangeet. It is the music which is sung daily in the homes of hundreds of millions of men and women, old and young. It is the music of the masses. To listen to folk songs in their pristine purity, one should go to villages that are 50 to 60 miles away from the railway station or to places which have not yet succumbed to the influences of modern civilization. The function of the folk music is primarily entertainment. Folk songs are perhaps the one means of discovering the real feelings and ideas of people. The up-to-date inner feelings of people always find expressions in their folk songs. The music and the sahitya being simple, there is no place for sangati, variations, and vowel extensions as in Carnatic music. The theme of a folk song is never serious, and the language used is very simple.
நம்ம ஆனைமுக புள்ளையார்க்கு தொந்திய பாரு நம்ம ஆனைமுக புள்ளையார்க்கு தொந்திய பாரு அப்பம் ஊருக்கு பட மோதகம் பாரு நம்ம ஆனந்த புள்ளையார்க்கு தொந்திய பாரு அப்பம் ஊருக்கு பட மோதகம் பாரு நம்ம ஆனைமுக புள்ளையார்க்கு தொந்திய.
The simplicity of the tunes, their lighting rhythms, their straight notes with an occasional sprinkling of graced notes, and their limited compass have enabled folk music to be appreciated universally. Folk songs are capable of being learnt by rote and without much effort. By listening to folk music, one can develop the sense of rhythm, the capacity to distinguish between plain notes and graced notes, the sense of singing to a drone. It is a mistake to think that crudity is an inevitable feature of folk music. There are rustic folk with naturally gifted voices. The folk songs of South India are a treasure house of historical and sociological information. The occupational songs, the tribal songs, marriage songs, worship songs, and ballads especially contain a mine of information. Songs relating to palmistry and astrology, and songs relating to the curative properties of herbs and special herbs useful for curing particular diseases are interesting. Classification of folk songs. Based on their subject matter, folk songs may be classified into moral songs, philosophical songs, proverbial songs, ceremonial songs, rain songs, cradle songs, devotional songs, tribal songs, health songs, festival songs. Are some of the instruments used for accompanying folk music: Nagaswaram, Magudi, Tabal, Udukkai, Kaishilambu. Music plays an important part in the life of the refined folk. Although it may not lift him to supreme heights, it has nevertheless an unfailing charm. Folk music has a genuine place in a broad educational scheme. It must find a place in an integrated, well-rounded musical curriculum. A high quality of standard must be maintained in teaching the folk music. Summer courses and refresher courses may be arranged for popularizing folk music. Youth choirs singing folk songs and youth bands performing folk music should be organized in the national level. So far, we have discussed about the origin and characteristic of three forms of Indian music, namely Hindustani, devotional and folk music. I hope this session has distinguishingly brought out the important aspects of Hindustani, devotional and folk music. The upcoming sessions will showcase more about Carnatic music. Thank you.